Andrew Cross, born in 1784, would become one of the earliest pioneers in electricity and electrical experiments. All of his life's work has been overshadowed by a single experiment in 1836 that would cause his career to end and for him to be all but ignored by history. What Andrew Cross accomplished in one experiment in which he was creating silica crystals, essentially sand or quartz, by allowing fluid containing hydrochloric acid and potassium silicate to pass through a chunk of iron oxide. Basically, what he was trying to do was form artificial crystals by pouring an electrified chemical solution over stone. The experiment was going good until this happened, which he recounts in his own words. Cross had arranged the circumstances for which a living organism comes to life. Cross's experiment eventually spread, and the narrative became twisted to make Cross sound like he claimed to have spontaneously generated life, when in fact he was wary of his own results and made no theory on why it happened because he knew the backlash he would get. However, the damage had been done and word spread fast, both within the scientific community and the local community. He received death threats and was blamed for various illnesses and crop failure. The religious community was just as harsh as the scientific one, and Cross retreated from public life. Cross repeated the experiment and cleaned and sealed his equipment, but the results were the same. There was no conceivable reason why mites should still be hatching. On top of this, mites did not hatch anywhere else in the laboratory, and it is odd that mites should be able to live and hatch through the caustic solution he worked with, unless perhaps they somehow came from it. Another electrical researcher, W.H. Weeks, repeated the experiment and got the same results. Even Michael Faraday, one of the most famous electrical scientists credited with the electrical motor, repeated this experiment and found mites growing as well. It appears that even with some successful recreations of the test, that the scientific community abandoned it, probably due, in part, to the religious pressure at the time. To this day, the question remains unanswered as to whether Andrew Cross and the other scientists discovered a formula in which life can occur. As he reflected later in life, Cross admitted there were great similarities in mite eggs and electrically grown crystals. It is this last point which I think is of greatest interest here. I believe we have categorized organic and inorganic material all wrongly. The 6 kingdoms of life are animal, plant, protista, fungi, and monera. Already, many of these encompassing categories have organisms that blur the line of what we consider life. For example, lichen, a type of organism composed of multiple different species from 2 or 3 of the kingdoms. The most common lichen is fungi and algae. They are far too complex to get into right now, but they are one example of a substance that completely uproots all conventional ideas about life. Viruses are another. A virus is not classified in a kingdom and not considered alive, yet they reproduce, respond to environments, and evolve. Crystals are also not classified in a kingdom, and they too grow, evolve, and have been believed by humans for hundreds and thousands of years to have consciousness. There are also sand dollars, starfish, sea cucumbers, among many other marine life that blends living and non-living qualities together. There is also the question of chitin and shells that are grown by living creatures, like a turtle or crab or clam. In this case, the organism is creating the inorganic material, but even as it does so, inorganic material is fueling the organic creature in the form of food and air. This is becoming somewhat confusing, so let me outline what I am saying. We will take a human as an example, since that will be the easiest to understand. Humans are chemically and elementally composed of various minerals, metals, vitamins, and water. To break it down, we are 99% oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, nitrogen, calcium, and phosphorus. There is nothing in chemical terms inside us that suddenly turns us into a living organism. That sort of classification is misleading. Most of everything is made up of carbon, but it is this combination of carbon and geometry that decide the faculties and characteristics of a given object. Graphite and diamonds are both made of carbon, yet are wildly different substances, only because of their molecular shape. Diamonds are cubic and graphite is layered, to put it simply. Take a look at these creatures in the shape of Platonic solids. The Platonic solids have even been found living in the sea. Viruses and crystals also form in these geometric shapes, as well as different plants and animals.